In a minute, I will welcome on stage Jeremy Mraz, who is Lion Capital's digital director. And now we actually go way back with Jeremy from his days at Burberry, where he spent 8 years, most recently as VP of Digital Commerce. And after many years, this year, we finally started a partnership with Jeremy at Lion Capital. Now, he is here to tell us more about the next generation of commerce. And the commerce plans that he has for their portfolio of companies by building strong brands and by personalized digital experiences as kind of the ultimate weapon against Amazon. Now, Jeremy is joined on stage by the freshest addition to the BloomReach leadership team, David Hurwitz, BloomReach CMO, or more famously known as the marketing machine. I kid you not, it's on his LinkedIn profile. Now, David started his Silicon Valley career actually as a software engineer, after which he went on to lead many marketing departments, turning him into the marketing machine that he is today. Now, I'd like to get started with this fireside chat that you are about to experience, so please help me welcome on stage Jeremy Mraz and David Hurwitz.
Thank you, Eva. I see everybody's coming back from the break, so feel free to take a seat. We'll get settled up here. It's a fireside chat, Jeremy, and I don't really see a fireplace, but
warm enough under the lights.
We'll persevere. You've had a long and interesting journey to where you are today, so let's start with Jeremy. Let's start with your career path and how you got to where you are and sort of develop the insights through that journey.
It's been a long path. Most of the early stage of my life was somewhat misspent, but after a winding road, I landed up in a large house in London with boxes of knickers. And that was my first job in digital, running a business called Agent Provocateur, which is a British lingerie business, quite iconic at the time.
Well,
grew very fast, and really that was my first go at e-commerce and digital, where kind of you do everything from literally packing the boxes to building the website to running the customer service. And I did that for 3 years, and after a slight detour via Topshop, which we won't dwell on, I ended up at Burberry. And I started at Burberry, I remember it well. There was myself and 2 other people. My office was on this mezzanine floor that no one really knew existed. The toilet leaked into it, and everybody on the top floor was kind of like curious of digital, but really didn't know anything about it. And
yeah.
We looked at the sales on sort of day one, and there was 25 orders. You wind that forward 8 years, we did 150 million.
150 million?
150 million pounds.
Pounds?
In 8 years.
Yeah.
So it was quite a journey, and again, it was a chance for me to get involved in lots of different aspects of the business and really see from the inside how businesses adopt digital and then evolve digital throughout the organization. And I landed on day one there. Day one was the day that Angela joined, Angela
right.
Ahrens, and we joined on the same day.
Uh-huh.
And she spotted a few crucial things. She spotted, that this millennial revolution was coming.
Right.
She spotted that, digital was going to be crucial for the growth of the organization. Social media was just emerging, and she sort of, doubled down on that. And she invested in innovation and talent, and it was an exciting journey.
Just to be clear, so everyone's aware, Angela Ahrens is now more famously known as the woman who runs the Apple stores.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So after 8 years there, and it was a great 8 years, I actually decided probably 5 years as long as anyone should ever spend in a job.
Yeah.
But it was time to move on. Andrew had moved on. There was a lot of change. And one of the gentlemen that I had the opportunity to work for a number of years had recently left and become the chief exec of a brand called Allsaints. And I remember clearly I was chatting to him. I was in South Africa, and I was chatting to him on the phone and saying, look, I don't know what to do next. And he said, look, come and meet this guy. He's a gentleman called Lyndon Lee. He runs a private equity company called Lion Capital. He invests in consumer brands. He's passionate about that. That's the direction they want to go. They've just acquired us. And
because we're I imagine mostly Americans here. Tell us a bit about Allsaints, because I don't think we in the States here know much about them.
Right. So, I mean, well, Allsaints is I would say an iconic brand. Certainly everybody in the UK who's grown up of my generation has gone through a period, a phase of being a complete devotee of Allsaints.
Yeah.
And it's had a very, very talented creative director called Will Beadle at the helm of that business for a long time. And he's really tapped into a lot of sort of the culture and been able to sort of evolve Allsaints with the time.
Yeah.
And it's expanded rapidly. If you know Allsaints, you've been in the stores, you'll know the sewing machines, famous for that. And they've come over here. We've grown a solid business over here. Premium, very, very focused towards sort of youth culture, and growing incredibly fast. What's been very interesting for me in working with Allsaints is, William really took a lot of what he learned at Burberry and invested that into Allsaints and really put digital really at the heart of the message and the organization.
Excellent. So that's probably a nice segue then into Lion Capital. So you were just, there's Allsaints I see sort of at the bottom center there. Maybe you were going to tell us a bit about Lion Capital.
Sure. Well, as I said, it was founded on the premise of being a niche investor. So we only invest in consumer brands, and quite often founder-led consumer brands. We have 4 funds. The 4th fund is over $1 billion, and I really work across funds 3 and 4. So where I spend my time a lot historically has been with Perricone, which is in San Francisco. It's a women's skincare brand. Dr. Perricone is very much still involved in that. And across in New York with John Varvatos, another very established and iconic menswear brand. Again, John is squarely at the helm of driving that and driving the creative and the product. And then looking back, I can see some names here taking me back. So, some of the big investments made in the past were Jimmy Choo and American Apparel, Wagamama's. We did a lot in the restaurant and hospitality space as well, and Weetabix, for any of the Brits in the room, was one of us, which did very well for us. And then fast forward to our current fund, which is Fund 4, which we're investing at the moment.
Right.
Really, there's 2 investments worth noting in the US. We have 2 back in the UK. Page, which we'll come and talk about a little bit at the moment again, a great brand where the founders and the creative directors are still very involved and at the helm of that, and then Lenny and Larry, which I'm sure you know. If you don't, it's a protein cookie, vegan, protein-based, doing incredibly well, just exploding at the moment. So we're spending quite a lot of time investing in that. So, those are the areas we like: fashion, apparel, healthy living.
Right.
Those.
And your role is to bring digital expertise to the portfolio.
So my role, when I sat down with Lyndon at the beginning, we talked about 3 things. He said, look, we as a firm want to understand digital and want to be more proficient when we're diligencing businesses and thinking about how we invest. So I spend a lot of my time working within the firm with the analysts and the partners, helping them with that, and on diligence. So when we look at new brands, we'll go in and I'll be part of that diligence team. The other part of it, really, where I spend most of my time and really drawn on most of my experiences, is operating. So that could be, at any given time. Perricone, I spent 6 months working with that team directly and building that team. Same with John Varvatos. So it could be, very much hands-on, or it could be more on a project basis. Or once we put the right teams in place, it's often more of a sort of at a distance, where I can then bring the last aspect of this together, which is trying to ensure that we have synergies across the organization.
Right.
So, projects that we're looking at, we've put a customer database in place for all of our US brands. So the idea that we can leverage the data across the portfolio. We work a lot with 2 or 3 specific agencies that we extend out and work with across the portfolio. And we'll come on to talk about a bit today. I'm constantly looking at technologies that are going to be appropriate for the organization. And we have an ecosystem of those. And where we can, if I can get consistency, we can get a best-in-class approach, then that's what I want to try to do, obviously at the right price for the portfolio.
Sure. So let's talk about some of your insights on what's happening with brands and with wholesale. You were saying some really fascinating things to me about the challenge for wholesalers and brands and how, and then thinking that digital and digital experience can help surmount those challenges. Why don't you speak about that?
Yeah, it's funny, I was listening to the earlier conversation that Raj was having, and there's so many parallels to how I think about it and we think about it. If I think of two trends that are happening at the moment, and obviously these are driven by technology that's driving so much change at the moment, and sort of the consumer, the generational shift that's happening, which is causing so much change as well. For me, it boils down, and what's relevant to this group, to two things, two trends. One is that we're seeing just this shift in the retail landscape. And the second is, born out of that, we're seeing this sort of direct-to-consumer sort of 2.0.
Right.
So the first being, three things within it. One, the era of Amazon. We talked about that, and you can't ignore that. You've got these large sort of e-commerce players who are, sort of punching it out.
Right.
They're running around Bezos's sort of flywheel, trying to get as much product as possible to drive
I love that.
traffic.
Running around Bezos' flywheel.
You like that?
That is a great line. Keep going.
So I see them as like rats running around this thing, right? They are, they're punching it out. They're duking it out. They are trying to get as much product on there, drive the traffic, drive scale, lower prices,
Yep.
create great customer services, gain loyalty.
Right.
And that's a tough space to be in.
Right.
And they're all fighting in that space.
Where pardon me, you're just competing on scale. So if you're not mega scale, how do you compete on scale?
Yeah, how do I, we invest in mid-tier brands. So,
Right.
So look, everyone needs an Amazon strategy of some sort. Got to have it. But the thing that Amazon also has that's often overlooked is its foundation. And again, we talked a bit about that, which is that they are driven and born out of data and analytics. They have this microservices approach. And they have innovation.
Right.
If they stop innovating, they will die. I mean, that's their mantra. So you've got that, and then you see that then just transforming the retail environment, whether it's the physical space, whether it's IoT, or whether it's voice. We have got to be aware of the influence that Amazon is having on everything right now. So that's one.
Okay.
Two is this wholesale evolution. I don't want to say decline, but it's evolution, right? Traditional wholesale. That demise is well documented and is happening, and a lot of brands are suffering because of that right now.
Right.
But what's happening in a wholesale is three things. It's going to become more digital, it's going to become more specialist, and it's just going to become more promotional driven.
Okay.
Right. So digital is not good for my brands. As soon as Nordstrom starts going digital, then I actually lose control. Right. I can't control that space in the store. I'm just one of many, and yeah, the Page guys are doing a great job. They're talking, the Nordstrom guys saying, look, we want our product imagery up there, but really, there's not a whole amount that you can do there. So,
and pardon me, and if that's just imagery, it's not your full brand story. For a brand like Page, the brand story is so central.
Brand like Page's brand story is everything.
Yes.
That's why you need to create environments where you can tell that story, and you need the tools to tell that story. So we're seeing that problem. You're also seeing sort of the specialist retailers coming through, which is good, becomes more complicated to manage because there's a lot of them. And then, it's all discounted, right? Whether that's Nordstrom Rack or Outlook or... There go your margins. So, we need all that. That's all good, but it's just shifting and changing.
Right.
So that's changing. And then the final one is the emergence of these digitally native brands, which I find fascinating. They're different, they're thinking about the world differently. They're thinking about the customer. Their supply chain is completely different, as we talked about. And so we don't need to dwell on that. But where I think I'm getting to is this 2.0, where brands like Page and all of our brands, we need to go direct to consumer. One, for investors, direct to consumer is a more valuable proposition for us.
Okay.
If we think, we were in a couple of discussions last year. Sandro, a very successful direct-to-consumer business, and Ted Baker. their multiples that they were getting on their EBITDA is 10 times. You compare that with Superdry, which has been on fire, right? It's been growing like nobody's business over the last 5 years since the new CEO came in. But their multiple is closer to 7 times. So, so you get the scale, but you don't get the value. And the value is, I think probably born on the fact that everyone's scared that this wholesale thing is, in decline, but also that you just don't own the relationship
with the consumer. So direct to consumer, obviously two ways, e-com and physical and brick and mortar. So as you came into Page, as they came into the portfolio, you kind of had a blank slate. How did you think about that?
It was fortunate, and I hope we get this experiment right. But having had the opportunity to start from scratch, and with Page having a small retail footprint, but as an investment thesis, part of the investment thesis was really to grow not only the digital but the physical direct consumer proposition. We had the opportunity to sort of build from the ground up, and I didn't think therefore about building an e-commerce business or a digital business. I thought about building a retail business.
A retail business.
We're retailers,
right?
And that's that's what.
Part of it, a retail business built around a brand.
Yeah. So brand first.
Brand first.
But retail agnostic of channel.
Okay.
So that means putting in the infrastructure that enables the consumer to have, in time, a seamless journey across all these touch points. When it comes to, the inventory and, and our understanding of that customer, but also in the experience.
Yeah.
And that isn't just, in the technology that we build, and, what we've tried to do through that technology is, we really only had 3 or 4 requirements. Was make it mobile, right? Make it flexible and really easy to use.
Right.
And make it really fast.
Really fast.
Really fast. And then make it really open so that we can do whatever we want. Because frankly, with Page or a lot of our brands, we need to make them more valuable, and then someone else is going to come and take them on from us.
Right.
And we've got to build. I believe we have to be building for the longer term.
Traditionally, to go online, to e-com direct to consumer, you would have bought a e-commerce system. I don't even know if I want to call it a monolithic e-commerce platform. And you chose not to do that. You chose to go with a microservices-based architecture, with a DXP, with what we're now calling BR Experience.
Great name.
Why'd you make that decision? First of all, why out with the old? Why were the monolithic e-com platforms, they're still out there, but that maybe you would have gone with even 3-4 years ago, not the right choice going forward?
I think, it's from experience. Over my career, I've put in, ATG, and I lived that experience for a long time.
Scars to show.
Yeah, at Burberry, we built huge teams. It was really inefficient. It took me forever to do anything, and I had everybody and every team saying, "Why can't we just change things?" And I'm like, "It's getting cute."
Because it's fashion. It's fashion. They're merchandisers.
Yeah.
We need to be on trend. Oh, well, I would do that in 6 months.
Yeah. Much of and the content, right?
Yeah.
So it was just hard. So in the end, at Burberry, we ended up building a huge development team. They are some of the best developers in the country. But we effectively abstracted everything out of there and just custom built everything on the top of it.
No, that sounds easy.
Yeah. So we didn't want to do that. And then joining Lion, look, I put in Demandware twice. And I put in Magento twice, and we've got Shopify somewhere. I'm actually a big fan of Shopify. I think that's a fantastic product, and we will put that in the right brand. So looking at Lenny Larry's, that could be the right opportunity for something like Shopify.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't want to have to sit down in board meetings and sit down with CEOs, with them getting really frustrated with their digital guys, saying, "Look, why can't we just change things more quickly?"
Right.
And I didn't want to be paying Demandware the amounts of money that I'm paying them in other places. And I didn't just want to have a roadmap that never got done.
Right.
And I didn't want a really slow site. I could go on, by the way, but I'll stop.
The other thing that I've heard you say that you didn't want were templates. You seem to have a particular animus for templates.
I have an aversion for
A version for templates. Speak about that.
Again, it's all born out of experience, which started at Burberry. But I see it today at my brands that are on these platforms. Whether it's a homepage or whether it's a category landing page, God forbid it's a product listing page or a PD page, let's not even go to those because you can't ever touch those without a 3-month build time.
Right.
I just can't believe that you can't change things around and move things around on a homepage or a category listing page without building a new template, without it taking 2 or 3 months.
Right.
That should be outlawed. It should not be allowed.
I agree. That should be outlawed.
That should be gone.
Yeah.
And it just upsets me.
Yeah.
Even some of our even Allsaints.
Yeah.
Because of they don't yet have a content management system. They're starting to build things, test things. Great, test it, see what's learning, and then really push it out across their other.
So you just mentioned content management system, CMS. One of the things that I think is brilliant, and I'm at BloomReach, I'm new to BloomReach, so I get to credit them, I didn't come up with this, was fusing together our super CMS with this amazing search and merch. And that is going to allow you to tell your brand story and do this sort of dynamic and AI-powered instant merchandising. But if you don't have the content management and being able to do rich content, video, and so forth, how do you tell a story like a brand story at Page?
Yeah, and we have to, right? I mean, if you go back to what I was saying, it's sort of direct consumer 2.0, I think a lot of that is adopting these characteristics of these digitally native brands, and what they've done very well is firstly understand who their customer is. Right, so what we've not talked about yet is sort of the data behind all of this. Right, and I don't mean data just powering the AI, which is important. But I mean going really back. Understanding your customer, really, building a point of view on who that is, and a way to communicate with them, and really driving that down to what actually you're making, and ensuring that that supply chain is really efficient, and you're testing and learning, and you're pushing that through. Mm-hmm. Right, so understanding your customer and what they want, and then building experiences that are relevant for them.
Yes. And
being able to present those experiences on your own platform. We've chosen to build a single page application. So push it through that, and or we maybe push it into the store, or maybe we'll push it up onto another platform that we've not.
I want to talk about a couple of those. So let's start with the single page application you've built on BR Experience, Spa. So talk a little bit about why you went the Spa route.
Simply it was the best mobile experience that you could create.
Yeah.
The fastest, the most app-like experience that, we've only just started on this journey, at Page, but, I'm excited already with the performance of this application.
Yes.
And, just the richness of the experience, and we've put very little content on there yet.
Yeah.
So primarily, and I want to get into all of the other use cases of a single page application down the road.
Sure.
And I'm frankly going to learn those as we go along.
And now you can do that in sort of a CI/CD, continuous.
That's right.
That's geek talk for doing continuous improvements.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And as we move into our omnichannel experience, we can stand something up in store pretty easily, right?
Yeah, so in-store, you were mentioning that to me a little bit ago about some of your thoughts for in-store, because Page is opening up stores all over the place.
Page is opening up a lot of stores.
A lot of stores.
There's a lot of growth there, and that will continue. But equally, I think of Allsaints has a lot of stores. JV has a lot of stores. As we, one of the advantages that our brands have, they're traditional brands. I wish we could buy one of these digitally native brands, but the valuations just, we can't quite wrap our heads around it as a PE firm. So, we have these brands that we need to, take advantage of, their strengths, and often the strength is a store network.
Right.
And so omnichannel is a core strategy for us. And whether that is, to start off with, just understanding where your inventory is and making it available to the right person at the right place at the
Right.
right time, or whether it is, using this architecture that we've built to enable us to, maybe we haven't decided yet, but put it in the stores' hands of the sales associates like we did at Burberry in a very clunky way.
So the sales associates has this in her hand, and it's in our case BR experience powered, and she can deliver a better experience then to the consumer in the store.
That's right. That's right. I mean, we did that at Burberry. I rolled that out into globally, but we didn't have any real, our clienteling tool, that we didn't have any real intelligence behind it.
Right.
So if I can begin to really push forward
With that data that you talked about behind,
right.
feeding it so that it's
dynamic
intelligent.
recommendations that are appropriate to you as you come in.
Right.
The other thing to remember about Page specifically is they're quite small stores. So, and as we build the brand out, we want Page to become a lifestyle brand.
Right.
Beyond what it's really famous for, it's denim. This brand's going to become much more than that.
Right.
And so how do we present that full range to the consumer?
Right.
Maybe it's kiosks. I don't know about kiosks. I've never really seen that work for us at Allsaints particularly well. But it could just be the single page application that is in their hands, right? And how does that react and interface into the experience in the store? And
Right.
so, Andrew's here. These are nice problems for us to figure out once we get to the right point that we can begin to think about those.
Yeah. That's great. Well, so speaking of Page, you got a new happy customer here. These are
Right.
my Page jeans. I just got them. I'm really thrilled with them. They feel great.
Got a few Page customers in the room who work with us. We insist that everybody gets them, and as soon as you get in them, you never get out of them. Stick your hands up. JM's got 10. Chris has got tons.
Oh, look at this. I see hands
Yeah,
up
there's
all
hands up.
over
They
from
run the hands up
Page
everywhere.
customers.
I kid you not. Particularly the guys in the room.
Mostly
I've
guys.
I've not worn the women's jeans, but for the men's.
Right. It started as, I think, as women's jeans, and Paige herself was, I guess, a fit model for women's jeans. But we got a bunch of dudes here wearing their Paige denim.
Yeah, and again, this is, if you think of our core strategies, Paige has built this business on, fit with her background and comfort. This denim, the material, the fit, it is sensational.
Right.
But we wanted to take it out of the women's category, and we wanted to extend it into men's.
Right.
That in itself presents for a brand like Page certain challenges in the way that you want to represent that. So again, a crucial part of what we're trying to do with this platform is to be able to present very distinct and clear experiences to different groups and clusters of people. We'll start with men and women. That's a great starting point, but we intend to get a lot more sophisticated.
So we're sort of rounding up to our time here. Where do you think a year from now, with this BR experience powered platform that you've built, which is just now seeing first flowering, where do you think you're going with it over the next year?
So with Page, we wouldn't put this in if we didn't feel that the Page business was not going to grow, significantly. So at Page, we would expect to see significant growth there. More broadly, I think what we've tried to do, with this platform is create a series of services that play really nicely together. Mm-hmm. So whether that is commerce tools as our commerce as a service, which I quite like that. So I might
Commerce as a service, absolutely.
I like the way that's switched around. Or whether it is Flow.io, who does all of our cross-border stuff.
Okay.
Or whether it is Adyen, who does all of our payments, which will be across the whole of the infrastructure. Or indeed, whether it's BloomReach and the personalization and the front, the way that we control that and the way that we can learn from that.
Content marketing.
That's right. Or, so that this is now, I'm not going to lie to you, it's not been plain sailing putting this all together. But, I think now that as Lion Capital, we have something that works. My intention is, once we get to a place where we're comfortable, is then to have something that we can offer as a real value add when we go into pitching for business.
I see.
Right?
When you're looking to add to the portfolio.
That's right. So we have a platform that we can just put brands on top of.
Right. You got a brand platform that that can be leveraged.
Yeah. And that's, it's not built, but we almost built, right?
Yeah.
So we know how to do that, and I think that gives our brands, these traditional consumer brands, an advantage.
Right.
We need that advantage in this world of declining wholesale, Amazon, and digitally native brands, right? That's going to be our edge.
Amazon does not stand a chance compared to this.
Not a chance. Jeff stays on his flywheel. That's fine.
Yeah, Jeff stays. We'll get Jeff in his flywheel. Well, Jeremy, thank you so much. We have a copy of Haman's book, Unscaling. I don't actually have it to show, but we have that for you as a speaker gift. And
Thank you.
Really appreciate you coming up and everything you're doing. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.